It's good to be here. First time, obviously, at these meetings, and it's crazy to think what time of the year it is here, just past Memorial Day, and got a big June ahead of us, and it won't be long we will be on the football field. So excited about the direction of our football team and where we're going right now. Guys just reported in for workouts today, so we're missing that. I'm missing that, but I think everything's in a good spot. So looking forward to a great summer and season ahead. Questions?
Thank you, Coach. Questions to start in the front left, Matt.
Kalen, I know it's not going to be the biggest topic of conversation this year, but are you for 8 or 9 conference games in the long term?
Yeah, I'm sure there's. I can hear both ends of it. I think you'd have to make adjustments to your non-conference schedule depending on which direction you go. And I know the SEC slate that every team will have is going to be strong, and it's going to be one where you'd have to adjust how many Power 5 teams or Power 4 teams you're going to play in the non-conference schedule. So I think 10 games, not nine games, Power 5 games are the ones that is a good number. So if it was 8, probably add 1 or 2. And we'll kind of see from there. So I'm up in the air on it, obviously, and want to hear both from my athletic director and also the pros and cons, from the conference on where it all stands. And I know we'll talk about that today.
If you could also just give your name and affiliation before you, for my sake, and for coaches. So we'll go to the far left here, Heather.
Hi, Heather Dennis, ESPN. What's your ideal roster size, and typically how many walk-ons do you like on it?
Yeah, I think when I think back over the years, and I've been at a lot of different levels when it comes to putting a team together. The crazy thing is people always look and say only 11 are on the field at a time, but there's a lot that goes into development. There's a lot that goes into putting together a practice, that I think is efficient. There's a health and safety piece for sure that comes into play when it comes to roster size. I think it was, smaller college levels have been as low as 100, 105, and been as high as 135. And I think that somewhere in between is a good number to have as far as executing, throughout the course of a season and having some depth. And I think there's other pieces too, especially in the latter years here, having legacy players, those that maybe are walk-ons that come onto your program and grow into being a scholarship player. There's a lot of variables that come into play. So, first and foremost, it comes to the health and safety and, efficiency and having a successful practice that I think you want to execute each and every day. That's important with the number that's on your roster. So, I've operated with 110 back about 4 or 5 years ago, 120 last year, and we'll have a few more than that with the way and the direction that we're at with Alabama this fall.
And about how many are typically walk-ons?
Well, everything above 85 normally, so anywhere from 15 to 35.
Front middle right here.
It's Mike Griffith, AJC Dog Nation. Coach, on availability reports, Commissioner Sankey said there'd be some discussion about that. We know that some coaches have been kind of guarded about saying who's going to be available, who's not. What are the concerns, and do you think there could be some standardization for that? Do you have any ideas of how that might go down?
I don't have all the answers to that right now as far as how I feel. Again, I want to listen to a lot of the reasons for and against. I understand why having some consistency is important. Sometimes it clears up even your communication to everyone that wants to know. And I understand from from just consistency across the conference, trying to pull that all together, but and even across the country, with the different conferences. So some consistency is certainly something I understand. I'm open to the idea. I just want to understand more about what the expectation would be and what that format would look like.
Just a quick follow. I guess you're batting lead up. Did you draw the short straw to take on these issue questions?
I guess. Yeah, I feel like it's all good. It's all good. And again, we have the meetings this afternoon where I know we'll hear a lot of and have a lot of debate going back and forth and work together to try to figure out what's best.
Let's go right in the middle, Nick.
Nick Kelly, Tuscaloosa News. Kalen, with the expanded playoff and potential for a longer season, how does that affect any just the load management, and just kind of how you structure your off season? How are you handling that?
Yeah, I think it's always been something that I've been conscious of. We're for example moving to being a morning practice team, and I think over the course of months, you're conscious about the amount of sleep guys are getting. That's not even getting to the part that I think you're referring to with the amount of contacts and hits and games that guys are playing. And so I'm always conscious of that because you want to be playing your best ball at the end of the year. You want to be fresh, both mentally and physically. And, there's just a fine line because you have to be prepared for those games throughout the season, which takes a lot of work, takes a lot of time. And so, from the summer workouts through the fall camp, tying that into, school and everything they have on their plate, that's a lot. So we want to make sure that we're always conscious and communicating, working with our team to adjust, and do what's needed to make sure we're playing our best ball come, the end of the season, but making sure we also have that possibility of or have done a good job throughout the year to put ourselves in a spot to be in the playoffs and postseason.
So front row and right, Dennis.
Dennis Dodd, CBS Sports. Kalen, in relation to Heather's question, can you operate safely and effectively with a roster of 85 scholarship players?
That's a tough. I mean, there's obviously always a way. You could ask me any question, and I'm always going to come up. There's always a way to get it done. Would it be a much different look than what we probably do as far as coaches and executing our practice plans? Absolutely. But I guess, I've always been one to adjust with the times, and you'd have to do what you got to do.
Pete, on far back right.
Kalen, Pete Thamel from ESPN. Last year at Washington, you knew essentially you had to be perfect to make the playoff. Like that was, a loss would have been maybe very, very difficult. We're now in bigger leagues with a bigger playoff, and I think losses have kind of be an accepted part of the landscape a little bit. I'm just wondering now, as you look to manage a team that hopefully plays till January 20th, just how that factors in. It seems like a different dynamic, on the undercard of the score.
Yeah, I mean, understandably so too. You want to be the highest seed that you possibly can, and so every single game still to me is very important. It isn't just always about making the playoffs; it's about winning in the playoffs and winning the championship. And so everything that goes into that, matters when it comes to each and every game. So, I don't like to think that you have a little wiggle room because more teams are in the playoffs. I don't want us thinking that way. I want us thinking about every game, the significance of it, how important it is to us, landing in a great spot, and getting a potential first round bye in the playoffs. And so that's to me, what we'll be attacking and what we'll be working for.
All the way back, quarterback left.
Yeah, Bobby Burton, Texas football coach. In light of the House settlement, what are the 2 or 3 things that the coaches and you in particular are looking forward to discussing this week as it relates to the future?
I think it's just getting all the information. We hear things, you read things. I know that it's still in the process right now. So trying to understand where it's really at, and having that communication where we're all in a room together and really hearing the facts. And so trying to separate what is real and what isn't real. I think that's really where it starts.
Second row back left.
Josh Young from LoneStarLive.com. Kalen, you guys don't play Texas this year, but obviously as a coach of Washington, you've seen Texas, had a scheme for Texas in the very recent past. What stands out and makes them dangerous?
Yeah, certainly over 2 years you can see and following Coach Sark because we, in our past, I guess, haven't connected, collided, but he was the Washington head coach at one point too. So understanding what he's done there with the program, he's done a great job building it and improving it each and every year. And of course, I've seen that the last 2 years. Extremely competitive team with a lot of talent, play with great physicality, and I've been through it now. Won some big games. Also learning from the experiences that they've had together as a program. I know guys graduate, guys move on, but I can see the direction it's going, and so giving some props to Coach Sark on what he's building.
Got a question from Blake in the middle here.
Kalen, Blake Topmeyer, USA Today Network. You mentioned in answering Dennis's question that you've always been one to adjust to the times when you're talking about roster size. I was wondering, different times during your career, can you reflect back on in other instances that have called on you to adjust to the times?
Well, I think COVID, everyone had to adjust, but I think that was a time, and I think about the roster numbers and how hard that was, and that may be a little extreme because of the variables beyond just injuries happening. But I think we were at about a 110 roster number at the time, and just being so deficient even with injuries, and then the concerns in trying to put a team on the football field to practice each and every day became extremely tough. Just moving from different parts of the country, and understanding that there are different styles to the way different conferences play the game, the way they recruit, the way, it all just even geographically on how it's different, having to adjust to that, when you're in a remote area, getting kids to come through like we can at Alabama, throughout the spring, which is much easier. They could just drive away, but I've had to adjust to those different parts in different parts of the country, the different styles of play. But in the end, you just really try to make it about the main thing. And you focus on the kids, you focus on the X's and O's, you focus on your staff, putting together the best plan to help your guys be successful. And when you really simplify it down, it's not easy, but it becomes easier, when you try not to make it more complicated than it needs to be.
We're going to try to get to everyone's questions here. We got a question from Ryan Hennessy in the far back.
Coach Ryan Hennessy, NBC 13 in Birmingham. Picking up on the last question, adjusting. Now that you kind of have a little bit of a break going into summer, I don't know if that's the right word, a break. Like every day you have an event at night or something. But how do you kind of reflect on how you handled replacing Nick Saban and moving forward as the head coach at Alabama?
Yeah, I think it's all about being excited to be here because of what this program's accomplished over not just Coach Saban's time in the last 17 years, but over many decades, and the great coaches, the great players and staffs that have been a part of this, these great teams, and just building on it. And I think there's always areas and ways where you can take what the foundation is and continue to add to it in your own way. I, of course, got to be who I am and be true to that, and put a staff around me that I think complements myself, the different strengths, the areas where, need guys in different roles, whether it be, your offense staff, your defensive staff, and just having everyone pulling in the same direction, I think is a strength of mine in helping them do that. So, it's been awesome embracing everything that Coach Saban has done for this program and really celebrating what he's accomplished, over that time. And I know we have a full roster of players that were recruited specifically, yes, to come to Alabama, but also to play for Coach Saban as their head coach. And so, I understand that fully as well. And I want to make sure that connection is always there and that they always feel like they can reach out to the coach that recruited them, at the beginning. And also that Coach Saban knows he's always got an open door to the program as well. I've referred to it a few different times as this is our program. When I say ours, it's all those people that have been a part of it for many years. And that, of course, includes Coach Saban.
All right.
Ross Gunn, Yahoo. Kalen, Coach Saban was pretty famous for doing the two-spotting at practice. I hate to belabor the roster. issue, but how would you change your practice if it was 85?
Yeah,
Even
we-
if it was 95.
Yeah, we did 2 spotting and 2 sessions during the spring this year too. You know, and when you have more depth, you want to get reps for the guys, and so that was certainly the way we operated even during spring ball. And so that number would jump from a roster standpoint for this fall with a couple additions this summer coming in, whether it be a couple transfers or the rest of the 24 class. You know, they'd be coming in, and you know, we'd have one set of offense versus defense in one area of the complex, and another set going on there to get those reps that we need. And you'd obviously have to adjust and figure it out, you know. And when it gets hard is when you have one position group that gets hit by the injury bug or whatever it might be, and you got all these other guys that you're trying to develop and trying to get them the reps, and that becomes the tricky part when you don't have as much depth across the board. But you know, again, you have to adjust whether it's a high number or a lower number. You're always adjusting, not just year to year, but within the season.
Could you do 2 spotting or no?
I don't know. I mean, with 85,
Yeah.
I mean, no, I think you do a lot of service. It'd be about balance, I think. Again, you know, you figure things out when that time comes. But obviously, there's a model that's somewhat in that area, and that's the NFL. You know, and you'd have to, you know, probably do some professional development there in that area a little bit more than probably what we've done over the years in regards to how they practice and how they do things.
Got time for a couple more questions. Start in the front with Ryan.
Hey, Ryan Fowler, Tide 100.9 in Tuscaloosa. Coach, the semester has been obviously very long for these players. A lot of transition, losing the Rose Bowl, coach retiring, you stepping in, a lot of big learning curve. You gave them a couple of days off. They didn't take advantage of that. A lot of those offensive linemen went to Texas. You had wide receivers. What does that tell you about the motivation of this team? That the hunger is there?
Yeah, I'm excited about the hunger that these guys have. Today was our first day officially back with workouts, but like you said, they've been doing a lot, and I know that's been actually something. Again, you talk about workload and all of that. We've been conscious and telling guys that they need to make sure that they refresh for a few days. And, you know, I love that hunger is there. The guys, I mean, I'm on a thread this morning, guys wanting to get together, some of our leadership group, to make sure that the mindset's in the right place. That's what it's all about, is having a player-led team that, you know, can lead themselves, lead the rest of the guys around them, and you know, want to do something special together. So I just try to facilitate that as the head coach. I know our staff does the same thing, and you know, these guys are hungry to whether it's to prove people right or prove people wrong. I don't know, because some people are excited about what it looks like, and others are, you know, casting some doubts on them. And so it certainly applies to the Lank mentality that they have, and I'm excited to see what this summer brings about as far as their progression and building on what we did this spring.
And we'll finish up with John Zener on the front row on the right.
John Zener with AP says there's no limit on roster questions. What was your initial reaction when you heard about maybe switching up for the scholarship limits? And do you have a handle on whether it means you could have more scholarship players or a much smaller roster? Do you have any kind of handle on how that could look?
I really don't have a handle, and I know I was waiting for. I'm one that never overreacts to anything, whether it's going to be, you know, in favor or something that's not going to favor maybe how I feel. I really am never going to overreact, and I want to, you know, kind of see what happens here and be a part of whatever change needs to happen to make our game better when I can. But you know, just understanding the facts and what we have control over, what we don't have control over is, you know, certainly something I know it's going to be discussed a lot today.
All right, thank you, everyone.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, Roll Tide.